Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be the introductory episode for Liberty After Dark in the podcasting format. Just to give a brief summary of what this is, what the objective is, who I am. There's no script here. We're going to do this all just like I would on a show. So I've got some bullet points, just things I want to cover, and we're going to piece together what the show is, why it exists, and hopefully you guys will think it's interesting, and we'll have some episodes rolling out really shortly for you. So just to give the spiel about me, go ahead and get that out of the way. My name is Christian Garrett Moore. I am 22 years old from Houston, Texas, currently employed by the Department of Defense in the United States Air Force, and I work on planes. I'm sure I'll give more details about what I do if it comes up and is pertinent during any of the episodes, but that's just to give my background. I'm in until November of 2019, and then I'll be back home to finish up my college education. So that's right. You're listening to someone who doesn't have a completed degree yet, and if that's something that puts you off, hopefully I can rein you back in as we keep going. So a little bit more about myself. I am by no means a well-educated scholar. I am by no means a progenitor of new ideas, and I am by no means the most interesting or original person that you will talk to, but I enjoy having the conversations. This podcast is going to be primarily based around the philosophy and ethics of libertarianism, and to be a little more specific, we're going to explore ideas like agorism, anarcho-capitalism, and all the other various, I guess you could say, sects of libertarianism. It's going to be pretty free form. We are going to have a what we call the after party, which is the more fun social stream that is going to be hosted on Liberty Memes Patreon members. But just for any of you guys who know who Liberty Memes is, I honestly really believe in what they do, so I'm going to kind of tie myself to them as like an advertising for them, at least for the time being, because it's a fantastic community. You guys should all, if you're not aware of it, you should look into it and see if it's something that you're interested in being a part of. The secondary stream is, for now, still hosted on Liberty Memes Patreon members. Eventually, we're going to look at moving that over to broadcasting on the Facebook page for the show, so that anyone will be able to listen in on the actual main stream and join in the conversation. As far as formatting is concerned, we've done, in the last couple of live streams, we've done everything from 6 hours, 7 hours on the after party, just talking, having a drink, and discussing liberty or whatever's going on in your life, and just talking about it, having a great time. And we've done, shorter 2-hour, 2.5-hour main episodes, or even some of the after parties have been a little bit shorter than that. We call them after parties because I'm going to go ahead and plug another show. It's called Liberty Late Night. It's hosted by David and Mary Wilimowski, and if you haven't heard of their show before, please go check it out. They were kind of the inspiration for me to finally go through with this. I've been mulling over doing a podcast for a while now. I used to podcast. I've done a couple other ones. Please don't look for them. I was much younger, and I say much younger, but I'm only 22. But I've done everything from a little part-time sort of on and off political cast to a 4-man crew that got together and talked about cars and the automotive news. It's a hobby that I enjoy. You could take that as me liking to hear the sound of my own voice speaking, or if I like to think it's because I really enjoy having conversations with people. And in some ways, I think podcasts are just, as ridiculous as it sounds, kind of a one-sided conversation in a lot of cases. But, there's something about the auditory format of discussing a topic, especially these more contentious topics like philosophy, ethics, politics, social interactions in general, that I think is best handled in an audio format. Not that a paper or an essay or dissertation or anything like that couldn't accurately tackle, or perhaps even more punctually tackle these ideas. For my personal opinion, I enjoy auditory consumption. I'm going to be doing my best to be the facilitator of conversation. I have a lot of strong opinions. I'm a very passionate person. I believe that if you believe in something, it should be worth defending, or at least giving it its fair shake. And you'll see me doing that throughout the show. I'm going to try to bring on people who are both like-minded to me, who are my complete opposite, or somewhere in the middle. Maybe just normal people who just want to talk about these things. We're not going to be focusing on getting everybody being a hoity-toity, high-class intellectual of society, not only because I don't have the clout to pull any of those people, but because I feel like it's important. You could go to any number of podcasts out there, especially in politics, and you'll be able to cycle through all of these prestigious members. We have everything from authors to socialites to educators, doctors, all sorts of wonderfully qualified and incredibly intelligent people, which don't get me wrong, I would love to have them on the show. I feel like it's just important to hear from the average person, to hear what they believe, why they believe it, and to not only challenge their own beliefs, but to challenge mine. And I feel like too often that's kind of overlooked. We look at philosophy and ethics, and we see those as topics that are just meant for people of a, either whether it's a higher intellect or a higher social standing than us. And we kind of feel like that's, whether it's not worth our time or our energy, I feel like we lose a lot from that. As Socrates once said, the unexamined life is not worth living. And I feel like that's a very poetic way of putting it. Something I try to live my life by anyways. A big part about doing this show for me, and it sounds kind of selfish, but it's true, is going to be about personal growth. So even in this introductory episode, you're going to hear I'm not the most amazing orator on planet Earth. Right there, perfect example. I still have a problem with using filler words, especially us and you knows, especially in a live format. It's a crutch that I use to give myself a second to think. It's something that I'm going to be working on doing less as time goes on. Hopefully I'll get better at it. I'm going to cut out the ones that are completely just dead space, me sitting there, unnecessary nonsense. But even in this case, right there, I mean, I did it again. Even in the case of something like this, as long as it's not overly distracting, I think if nothing else, it'll be interesting to see personal growth. Some people might think it's unprofessional. Plenty of professional orators use ums and ohs. So this is more something that if you guys just hate it, if I never get over it, just feel free to let me know. You can, leave a review. Say too many uhs and ohs, please. And, if it's something that really kills you, I'm doing my best every day, every time we stream, to think about it, to think about what I'm saying so that I don't have to use those crutch words. But at the same time, especially in a live format, sometimes I just get stuck in thought and it just kind of slips away. And before you know it, I'm just in another cycle of uhs and knows until the cows come home. So in this similar vein, as this show goes along, the more people we talk to, the more people we meet, the more people we get to challenge our own ideas with. I hope you, along with myself, can continue to grow. I can be a tad bit stubborn sometimes. I like to think I don't typically believe in something unless it's founded and I've really thought through it, and it's become something that I can feel like I can defend. I don't typically adopt an idea until I feel like I could sit up there and do it the justice it deserves. But at the same time, it's a growth process. I want to meet people and have conversations that make me think. And you'll see that even in the episodes that are coming up here pretty shortly, where I'm asked a question I've never thought about before, or presented with a scenario that's never come to mind. And it's something that I have to take the time to give an intelligent, or at least the best of my ability, an intelligent response to. So I hope you guys will understand that that's just as much part of this journey as it is to be entertaining. I think entertainment is a very important part, but kind of going back to what we were talking about before, we don't want to shortchange ourselves with where we could be growing and learning. There will be times when people come on and I agree with nothing that they say, and we disagree the entire show, and we get to have an amazing conversation about it. And who knows, maybe the earworm will be put in one of us, give us something to think about, or at least at the minimum, even if you walk away from a conversation and you couldn't bridge that gap, you couldn't get someone to agree with what you believe in, you can at least walk away knowing that you're that much sounder in your own beliefs, whether you believe that to be a negative or a positive. I think that, like I said earlier, if you have something that's worth believing, it's typically worth fighting for. So I think that's an important part of this whole process, and I'm glad that you guys are going to be here for it. I'm still mulling over the idea of whether I'm going to do a terms you might know, because we use a lot of, especially in the circle of people that I typically communicate with, we use a lot of terms that may not mean anything to anybody, so it would just be like a short 5-10 minute episode just kind of going over terms like the NAP, libertarianism, agorism, and cap philosophies, some prominent figures, some recommended reading and learning materials, or other places that you can get the same information from. So it's something that I'm mulling over, but not to stick on this topic for too long. I just wanted to make sure it was properly addressed. We're going to be doing these live streams, and I'm going to be taking the live streams, and in some cases I'll be editing some usable portions of them into 10-15 minute segments for quick consumption. Other times we'll be taking entire shows. If there's that much material inside of them, we'll split them up into parts, and then we'll ship them out as is. My goal is, just to kind of explain how I'm going to be doing this process, is to do the minimal amount of editing possible, because I want that live in the moment feeling to still be there. I don't want this to feel like a scripted news interview, or everybody comes in locked and loaded with these cookie cutter answers prepared. In some cases, if I have dedicated topics for the day, I'll inform people in advance. Like next week, I won't spoil who's going to be on, but a close friend of mine who's not affiliated with any of my views, plus one of our online listeners, is going to be, we're all going to be in a 3-part conversation, and we're going to have interaction with the live chat. So it'll be really interesting getting to just talk about what we believe, why we believe. We try to keep, the conversation is going to naturally develop, obviously, in an unscripted live format. Just for the main show especially, we're going to try to stick to current events and keep things topical, unless we have something really good to talk about, or something that someone maybe specializes in, or is extremely passionate about, and then we can go on that road. You'll hear me talk about taxes a lot, because it's something that is very important to me, whether or not it's necessarily relevant in the moment in the news cycle. Just to date this introduction before it's even been posted, we have Donald Trump's State of the Union address coming up, so you can almost certainly expect the next episode to be focusing at least somewhat on what he said. The topics of the State of the Union address are going to be dominating our discussion, which isn't a bad thing. Again, I like to keep it topical, so keeps things fresh week by week, and we can always tangent off into more reoccurring topics as they become necessary, or older topics, or things that might not be as pertinent to modern news. So I'm not going to keep this running forever. I will just say a couple more things. One, if you are by any chance a member of Liberty Memes or the Patreon members, by all means, please join us on the live streams when you're available. We'll be live streaming on weekends with no set times at the moment. We're still kind of working on that and playing around with that. We're 4 shows deep now, if you count each weekend. So we've done 8 in total. And the first couple of ones, honestly, aren't usable, because they kind of started as jokes more than anything, and then they kind of evolved into what it is now. We're going to be focusing on pushing out as professional of content as we can, while still keeping it entertaining, pertinent, relevant, and ground level. Like I said, at least so far, none of us, I am especially not any sort of quasi-intellectual, or I don't even see myself as that. I'm just a person with ideas, a person who asks a lot of questions and likes to overthink things. So hopefully we'll be able to facilitate some fantastic conversations that you guys can enjoy. If you are part of the Liberty Memes Patreon members, we do streams Saturdays and Sundays, and I'll make posts on there before anything specific comes out. If you're not, you always have this podcast readily available to you. Expect episodes to be coming out about a week behind, especially if we keep doing these longer episodes. I don't know if you've ever sit in front of a 6-hour file before to try to parse together what's usable in between the segments of just rambling on about our days. It's quite the adventure. So I'm enjoying the process, though. I'm getting better at it every time. We have 3 episodes lined up. They're getting reviewed by the person who was on there to make sure that all of their views were accurately conveyed, and I didn't, accidentally edit anything that makes them sound poorly, though I'm going to do my best to make sure that that doesn't happen. Like I said, we're going to do minimal editing just to make sure that everything is as cohesive and enjoyable of a listening experience as possible. I hope you guys are going to enjoy the rest of the ride and stick around. Like I said, this is posting on the 5th of February, so expect the first 3 episodes to be rolling out this week, potentially more, depending on how much editing I get done from the backlog. And then as the weeks go by, you could expect anywhere from 2 longer episodes to 3 to 5 shorter splits, just whatever is more enjoyable to listen to or is more cohesive. So once again, thank you guys for picking up this introductory episode just to listen and hear what this is all about. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope to see you around.